If you truly acted as if God was already within you, every room you entered would change. Your voice would carry weight. Your eyes would hold light. Your steps would no longer wander. They would command. Because the moment you remember who walks within you, the ordinary becomes sacred. The small becomes infinite. The breath itself becomes a prayer in motion. Most people live as if they are waiting for power to arrive. They speak of faith, but move in hesitation. They pray for guidance, but ignore the voice that whispers from within. They kneel to the world's noise, forgetting that heaven itself already placed its throne behind their eyes. You have been taught to reach upward, but the secret, the one the masters knew, is that upward was never the direction. It was inward. If you truly believed that God was already within you, you would stop apologizing for your existence. You would stop asking for permission to live on fire. You would stop treating your dreams as optional. You would speak differently, not louder, but with authority. You would walk differently, not faster, but as if every step was witnessed by the divine. You would think differently, not about what might happen, but about what must happen when infinite intelligence acts through you. Look closely. The hesitation you feel, the restlessness that wakes you at night, is not confusion. It is a summons. Something eternal is calling itself back into awareness through you. It is the sound of God remembering his own reflection. You were not made to drift. You were not made to shrink. You were not sent here to beg. You were placed here to create, to command, to remember. This is not a lesson. This is not motivation. This is law, the law that says, as within, so without. As you assume, so you become. And if you assume, fully, fiercely, that the divine already lives within you, then heaven stops waiting, because heaven is no longer separate. It breathes through your lungs. It speaks through your decisions. It creates through your imagination. Now listen carefully. Not with your ears, but with your spirit, because what follows is not information, it's activation. The time for waiting has ended. The voice you've been praying to is the same voice that speaks inside your chest right now. It is rising. It is remembering. It is ready. This is not a message. This is a remembrance. When I began my search for the secret of success, I was not looking for wealth. I was looking for law, something behind the surface of circumstance, something that moved quietly, but with precision. I interviewed hundreds of men who shaped history, presidents, inventors, industrial giants. And though they spoke with different words, I saw the same invisible hand guiding them all. They called it instinct. They called it inspiration. But I came to know it as infinite intelligence. It was never luck. It was never chance. It was alignment. When I sat with Andrew Carnegie, he leaned close to me and said, Napoleon, success is not built by the hands of man. It is built by the mind of God working through man. That sentence changed my life, because in that moment I understood what few are willing to believe, that every great achievement, every vision, every empire is first conceived in silence, in that sacred chamber where your thoughts meet the infinite. I called it the other self, the higher mind, the part of you untouched by fear, unbroken by time, and connected to the source that never fails. Most men live in their lesser self, the one that worries, hesitates, and reasons away the call. But the great ones, the ones I met and studied, they had learned to step aside. They acted as if something greater had already taken command. They walked with a quiet certainty, a stillness that made others follow without understanding why. They did not wait to feel ready. They acted as if heaven itself had whispered their instructions, because in truth it had. When I wrote Think and Grow Rich, I tried to hide this truth in plain sight. I spoke of desire. I spoke of faith. I spoke of persistence. But behind every chapter was the same revelation. God already lives within you. And when you act as if that were true, the impossible begins to obey you. Let me tell you this plainly. The other self is not imagination. It is your partnership with infinite mind. It is the bridge between your thought and creation, between what you see and what can be. You do not pray for it. You become it. And when you do, your thoughts gain order, your words gain power, your world gains form. That is the secret every great man carried, but few dared to speak. So now I speak it again, not as theory, but as witness. For I have seen what happens when a man begins to live as if God is already within him. He stops chasing. He starts creating. He stops waiting for signs. He becomes the sign. He no longer asks, "Can I?" He declares, "I am." And in that declaration, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself around his conviction. You may call it faith. You may call it assumption. You may call it divine confidence. But whatever name you give it, remember this law. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. It was never a metaphor. It was the formula of creation itself. Now we go deeper, beyond belief, into embodiment, because belief without action is only the shadow of faith, and acting as if the divine already breathes through you. That is the doorway to power. Come closer. Listen not with your ears, but with your awareness, because what follows next is not for the mind that analyzes, but for the soul that remembers. You have been taught since childhood to search for God in the sky, to bow your head, to fold your hands, to look beyond yourself for strength. But the secret that changes everything, the one the masters carried in silence, is this: God never left you. He never existed beyond you. He was the thinker within the thought, the spark within the mind that wonders, the voice that speaks without sound. The kingdom of heaven is not a place. It is a state, a condition of consciousness, where you no longer ask, "Will this happen?" but quietly declare, "It is already done." This is the inner law that governs all creation. Your mind is not a mirror of reality. It is the blueprint of it. Every image impressed upon the subconscious, every belief accepted as truth, moves outward to become experience. You are not waiting for heaven to move. Heaven waits for you to act. When you hold an idea with feeling, when you see it, believe it, and act as if it were already finished, you are performing the very act of creation itself. You are doing what the Creator does, speaking invisible order into visible form. Every word, every assumption, every image in your inner world is a command written in the language of energy, and the universe is obedient to that language. Most men do not understand this law. They pray for miracles while holding the belief that they are powerless. They speak of faith, yet act in fear. They beg for abundance, yet carry the posture of lack. Their prayers rise upward, but their actions pull downward, and so the two cancel each other out. Faith was never meant to be spoken in whispers. Faith is the motion of certainty, the proof of belief demonstrated through action. Faith is not belief in words. It is belief proven through movement. When you walk as though your goal is already completed, you are not pretending. You are aligning. Let me show you how this works. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. It does not pray for the sun. It assumes the sun will shine. It stretches upward before it sees the light. That stretching, that silent act of faith, is what calls the light to meet it. The same law governs you. The moment you act as if, you begin to attract everything required to make that act true. When you hesitate, when you wait for signs, you deny your own divinity, because the Creator does not wait for permission to create. The power that shaped the stars did not ask if it was worthy. It spoke, and what it spoke became. That same voice moves within you every time you declare, "I will, I am, it is done." Those are not phrases. They are commands issued from the throne of consciousness. You must understand this. There are no idle thoughts. Every image, whether born of fear or faith, is a seed. You do not get to decide whether the seed will grow, only which one you plant. So when you say, "I am tired, I am broke, I am unlucky," you are watering weeds. But when you speak, "I am strong, I am guided, I am prosperous," you are watering destiny. The soil does not discriminate. It simply obeys the seed. Close your eyes for a moment. See yourself standing in an open field beneath the early light of morning. The air is still. The world has not yet decided who you are. Now, breathe, and in that breath, feel the quiet pulse of something vast within you. It is not outside. It does not come from books or sermons or applause. It comes from the center of your being, from the same source that whispered galaxies into motion. It waits, it listens, it responds. To what? To you. To your assumption, your belief, your movement. Understand this law and your entire life will change. The infinite responds not to your need, but to your state. You cannot beg your way into abundance. You must embody abundance. You must walk, speak, decide, and build as though the promise is already fulfilled, because it is. The moment you assume, creation begins. Well, that's why I say to you, do not wait for heaven to send a sign. You are the sign. Do not wait for God to arrive. He is already within you, waiting to be recognized through movement. And so the question is no longer, will it happen? But rather, when will I act in accordance with who I already am? Because the instant you act from that knowing, you step into alignment with the law that has never failed. Infinite intelligence moves in exact proportion to your willingness to embody it. Now we continue to the next revelation. If the power is within, then how does it express? How does the invisible become visible? That, my friend, is the mystery of the law of assumption and action, the motion of faith itself. There is a presence within you, silent, patient, unchanging. It does not argue. It does not shout. It waits for your recognition. This presence is what I called infinite intelligence, and the part of you that can hear it, that can feel its whisper, is your divine self. The human self reasons. The divine self knows. The human self reacts. The divine self directs. The human self measures. The divine self creates. You were never meant to silence one or the other. You were meant to unite them, to let the human hand obey the divine instruction. When I first began my study of success, I believed that achievement was born of strategy, education, and opportunity. But as the years unfolded, I saw a truth far greater than technique. Every man who built something enduring had formed a partnership with the unseen. He had learned to listen. He had learned to trust that inner voice that speaks only when the outer noise is silent. There is a difference between thinking about an idea and receiving one. The mind that receives is not straining. It is tuned. It listens the way an antenna listens, still, receptive, confident that the signal is there. And when the idea comes, it comes whole, alive, undeniable. It feels like remembering something you have never been told. It feels like God breathing a blueprint into your consciousness. That, my friend, is the voice of infinite intelligence. It does not visit a few chosen men. It is the birthright of all who listen. When Thomas Edison could not sleep, he would sit in silence with a small steel ball in his hand. As he drifted between wake and rest, the ball would fall, striking the floor and waking him. In that space between worlds, the idea would arrive. Light bulb, phonograph, hundreds of inventions. That half-dream, half-waking moment is where infinite intelligence speaks most clearly. For in that silence, the human mind loosens its grip, and the divine mind begins to lead. Nikola Tesla once said, "My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration." Tesla did not imagine this. He experienced it. He had attuned his consciousness to the infinite frequency. That is why his discoveries seem to appear whole in his mind, as if dictated by a higher engineer. He was not a magician. He was obedient. Henry Ford lived by the same law. He said, "When everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it." Where did such certainty come from? It came from a man who trusted the inner partner more than public opinion. When every expert told him his dream was impossible, Ford did not debate. He obeyed the quiet command within him. Build anyway. That inner authority, that invisible partnership, is what turned iron into industry. And in our own age, you have seen it again. Steve Jobs, a man who, though not trained as an engineer, built empires from intuition. He said, "Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice." He was not speaking philosophy. He was describing law, because the law is this: when you trust the inner partner, the outer world begins to organize itself around your vision. You are not forcing results. You are receiving them. You are allowing the infinite to use your human form as its instrument. Think of this partnership as a divine dance. Your human self takes the step. Your divine self provides the rhythm. You move in faith, and heaven adjusts the tempo. Every great creator, every visionary has lived by this same rhythm, a sacred dialogue between the visible and the unseen. They did not wait for approval. They did not analyze every detail. They obeyed the subtle nudge that said, "Go there, build this, speak now, And each time they acted in obedience to that voice, the next step appeared, the bridge extended, the path unfolded. Infinite intelligence does not write you a map. It gives you a compass. It points true north, not to comfort, but to purpose. The human mind wants to see the whole road before it moves, but the divine mind says, take the first step, and I will light the next. That is the sacred contract. You do not need to know how. You only need to move as if, when you act as if God is within you, you activate this partnership. You begin to live guided instead of guessing. Ideas find you. Doors open before you knock. The right people cross your path at the right time. This is not coincidence. It is correspondence, the echo of your alignment with the source that never fails. But to hear this voice, you must master stillness. You must quiet the noise of hurry, doubt, and comparison. You must treat silence as sacred space. For silence is the language of the infinite. Sit in it daily. Ask for nothing. Simply listen, and when the idea comes, do not delay. Do not question. Do not seek validation. Obey, because obedience to the inner voice is the highest form of faith. Now understand this. You were never meant to walk alone. The power that conceived you still walks beside you, still thinks through you, still creates through you. The invisible partner is not a metaphor. It is the most practical ally you will ever have. And when you learn to move in partnership with it, you will find that what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Faith is movement before evidence, not after. Not once the way is clear, but while the way is still unseen. It is the decision to act, not because proof has arrived, but because conviction has spoken. Faith does not wait for conditions to change. It creates the condition. It walks before the ground appears. It declares before the world agrees. Knowledge men speak of faith, but live as beggars at the door of their own destiny. They pray for miracles, yet never move their feet. They ask for signs, yet ignore the impulse that tells them to begin. Faith is not the sound of hope. Faith is the sound of footsteps. Action confirms belief. Waiting denies it. Every moment you act in the direction of your vision, you prove your belief. Every moment you delay, you disprove it. The subconscious is always watching. It records your every move, your every hesitation. It does not listen to what you say. It listens to what you do. When you act, even trembling, even uncertain, the subconscious receives that as truth. He believes, and it begins to organize reality around that conviction. But when you wait, it records another truth. He doubts, and the infinite, obeying that signal, remains still. You do not wait for the light. You walk, and the light appears. That is the divine rhythm. Faith first, illumination second, movement first, manifestation next. The path does not pre-exist your decision. Your decision creates the path. Let me tell you a story. A young man once came to me with trembling hands and said, "Mr. Hill, I have no money, no contacts, no certainty, but I have an idea." He wanted to start a small printing company, but everyone around him laughed. His father told him to wait for investors. His friends told him to be realistic. But that night, he wrote a note on a scrap of paper, "I am the owner of a successful printing business." He read it aloud every morning and every night, and though he had no proof, he acted as if it were already true. He walked the streets seeking old machinery. He borrowed a basement from a friend, and with his last few dollars, he printed business cards, his own. Within a year, that basement became a factory. Within 5, he was employing dozens of men. He told me later, "I never waited to believe. I believed, and then I moved." That is the law. Another story. A woman in Ohio once wrote to me. She had lost her job, her savings, her confidence. But after reading my lessons, she began to practice obedience to the voice within. One morning, while praying for guidance, she heard a quiet impulse: go to the bakery on 5th Street. It made no sense. She had never been there, but she obeyed. At the counter, she met the owner, a man looking for someone to manage his new branch. She was hired that very day. She wrote, "I realize that faith is not waiting for understanding. It is obedience to a whisper. When you act in faith, life responds with precision, not because it is random, but because you have entered into correspondence with the infinite. The unseen moves through you, testing whether you will honor its impulse. If you do, it multiplies. If you delay, it withdraws. This is the eternal exchange between you and the source. You move, and heaven moves with you. You hesitate, and heaven waits. Understand this deeply. Faith is not born in comfort. It is born in motion. You cannot discover strength in stillness alone. You discover it when you act while afraid, when you build while uncertain, when you move, though the outcome is unseen. It is in that moment, the step before the bridge appears, that the law is fulfilled. Every man who has ever risen, every woman who has ever created something lasting, has obeyed this law. They walked without proof. They built without applause. They believed while the world mocked them, and the world eventually bowed to their faith. Action confirms belief. Waiting denies it. Say it aloud. Let it burn into the subconscious. You do not wait for the light. You walk, and the light appears. Say it again, because the repetition of truth awakens power. You are not meant to beg for miracles. You are meant to be one through movement, through decision, through obedience. Now you understand the rhythm of creation, conception, assumption, action, manifestation. This is how thought becomes thing, how faith becomes fact, how man becomes the vessel of the divine. You are the proof, but only when you move. And now we cross from knowledge into experience, from idea into embodiment, because what follows next is not to be studied, it is to be felt. Prepare your mind, prepare your heart, for we now enter the silence before the shift, the doorway to your own awakening. Now close your eyes, because what follows is not instruction, it is activation. You have listened, you have understood, you have gathered truth as words. But now we cross beyond language into experience. The mind learns through ideas. The spirit learns through silence, and in that silence the bridge is built between knowing and becoming. There is a point, just before transformation, when the old self begins to fade and the new self begins to breathe. You can feel it. It is subtle, like the space between two thoughts, the calm between two heartbeats. That is where infinite intelligence enters. That is where your divine partnership begins to speak. So, breathe with me. In slowly, through the nose. Hold. Now out, softly, completely. Again, in, hold, out. Let the breath settle your mind the way dust settles after a storm. With each exhale, let every thought, every tension drift away. You do not need to try. You do not need to prove. You only need to allow. You have spent your life seeking strength in effort. Now you will discover strength in surrender. Do not chase understanding. Do not force peace. Simply notice it, the quiet presence expanding behind your eyes. That is not imagination. That is recognition. You are beginning to remember what you have always been, a vessel of consciousness, a living doorway between heaven and earth. This silence, this stillness, is the space where the divine meets itself through you. Feel the energy moving now, gently, like light rising within the chest. It is warm, it is calm, it is aware. You are not summoning it, you are uncovering it. It was there when you were born. It will be there when you take your last breath. It is the spark that never leaves, no matter how many times you forget. This is the presence of God within you, not above you, not beyond you, but as you. If a thought comes, let it pass. If emotion rises, let it move through you. Do not judge. Do not resist. You are safe here. You are standing at the threshold between the known and the infinite, and what waits on the other side is the remembrance of your true nature. Now, the time for thinking is over. The time for being begins. The next breath you take will not be yours alone. It will be the breath of the infinite moving through you, awakening every cell, every memory, every hidden dream. So, inhale slowly. Hold that breath at the top. Feel it fill you from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. Now exhale, and as you do, imagine releasing every identity that no longer serves you. You are not what happened to you. You are not your fears, your failures, your past. You are awareness itself, the unshakable witness behind it all. Now listen. Beneath the sound of your breath, beneath the rhythm of your heartbeat, there is a stillness that does not move. That stillness is who you truly are. It is God remembering himself through your consciousness. It is creation observing creation. From this moment on, you are no longer learning about the law. You are living it. Each breath is an act of creation. Each thought is a decree. Each feeling is a seed. You are stepping into alignment with infinite intelligence, not to become powerful, but to realize you already are. Don't stay here for a moment longer. Let the silence sink into you. Let it write its message into the fabric of your being. This is the stillness before the shift, the pause before the dawn. When we return, you will not be the same. You will not think as you once did. You will not act from fear. You will not wait for signs, because the moment you rise from this silence, you will act as if God is already within you, because now you know, prepare yourself. For what follows next is not merely listening, it is creation in motion. We now enter the inner kingdom, the guided remembrance of the God within. Now let us begin the journey inward. Find a quiet place within yourself. Let your body rest. Let your breath deepen. You have nothing to achieve, nothing to control. You are only returning home. Preparación, the descent into stillness. Breathe in slowly, and as you do, feel the air enter like warm light, calming every muscle, quieting every thought. Exhale, and with that exhale, release everything that does not belong to this moment. Again, inhale, calm, slow, complete. Exhale, surrender, empty, free. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your eyes soften. You are safe. You are whole. You are now standing at the entrance of your own kingdom, the kingdom within. With every breath, feel your awareness sinking deeper. The surface mind quiets. The inner mind awakens. You begin to feel weightless, as if your body is no longer separate from the air, no longer divided from life itself. You are floating, but still grounded in perfect peace. Your thoughts slow to the rhythm of your heartbeat. Each beat is a reminder you are alive. You are present. You are divine. Now bring your attention to your chest, the center of your being. Notice the faint warmth there, like an ember waiting to be noticed. This is the divine spark, the same spark that ignited the stars, the same light that breathed galaxies into motion. It lives within you. It always has. Take a breath and imagine that with each inhale, that small golden flame begins to glow brighter. With each exhale, it expands gently, naturally, as if responding to your remembrance. See it now, a small sun glowing at the center of your chest. Golden, radiant, alive, each breath feeds it. Each heartbeat fans its flame. And as it grows, you begin to feel something ancient and familiar. Power. Not loud, not violent, but silent and absolute. The power that built everything you see. The power that thinks through your thoughts, moves through your actions, and waits, not above you, but within you, for recognition. Now whisper within yourself, God is within me. Say it softly, as if the words were a key turning in an ancient lock. God is within me. Again, with breath, with meaning, with certainty. God is within me, and as you say it, feel the light respond. It brightens, it swirls, it begins to expand beyond the chest. Transformación, the expansion of light. The golden light now rises. It flows upward through your throat. And as it passes, it transforms your voice. No longer hesitant, no longer small. Your voice now carries the tone of creation itself. When you speak, the universe listens. Feel the vibration of power beneath your words. Feel the alignment between what you say and what you are. Now the light moves higher, filling your mind. It dissolves every shadow of doubt, every thought of limitation. Your inner vision clears. You can see your life not as random, but as designed. You understand deeply that every challenge, every delay, every moment was leading you here. You are no longer searching for power. You are becoming it. Now the golden current flows downward, through your shoulders, your arms, your hands. It fills every cell with quiet certainty. Every movement you make now is guided. Every decision you take is aligned. The same intelligence that orbits stars is now orchestrating your life through you. You feel it in your spine, a pillar of living light rising from the base of your being up to the crown of your head. You are no longer a person waiting for divine help. You are the divine expressing itself through human form. Now let that light expand beyond the body. It radiates outward, filling the room, touching every object around you. It fills your home, your city, the horizon, until you realize there is no separation. You are not in the universe is within you. You are the consciousness that created it. the voice that spoke it into being. You are remembering. Now, imagine yourself standing, tall, calm, powerful. The light within you forms a golden aura, subtle yet undeniable. Every breath glows. Every heartbeat echoes with purpose. Now, take a step forward. You are walking, but not as the person you were. You are walking as if heaven moves with you. Each footstep lights the path beneath it. Wherever you go, clarity follows. Doors open. Hearts recognize you. Destiny rearranges itself to meet you. You do not wait. You decide. You do not hope. You command. You do not fear. You remember? See yourself now entering a room, any room you wish. Maybe it is your place of work. Maybe it is a stage. Maybe it is the moment of a dream fulfilled. As you enter, the energy changes. People pause. They sense something beyond sight, an invisible authority. You speak, not to impress, but to express truth. Your words carry weight because they come from light. You move with ease because you no longer question your worth. You know who sent you. You know what you carry, and the world begins to bend toward your certainty. Now see the scenes of your life aligning, projects succeeding, relationships harmonizing, your health radiant, your presence magnetic. You are not chasing results. You are emanating them. Everywhere you walk, abundance awakens. Every action is infused with divine rhythm. You are living proof that faith is movement before evidence. Now repeat these words within yourself, slowly, deliberately, as sacred law. God is within me. I act with divine certainty. I no longer wait. I command. Again, louder inside your being. God is within me. I act with divine certainty. I no longer wait. I command. And again until every cell believes. God is within me. I act with divine certainty. I no longer wait. I command. Now, feel the effect of these words in your body. The energy vibrates differently now. Steady, royal, anchored. You are not repeating words. You are issuing decrees. Every repetition writes new law into your subconscious. Every command reshapes your outer world. Heaven listens to movement, not intention. And you have moved. Transformación, the return of the divine. You now stand at the center of a golden horizon. Everything around you glows with the same light that glows within. There is no difference between the inner and the outer. You have become the bridge, the meeting point of infinite intelligence and human will. The universe recognizes you now. It moves in rhythm with your thoughts. It answers your faith with form. You speak and reality obeys. You imagine and matter arranges. You decide and heaven responds. This is not imagination. This is remembrance. You have remembered who you are, and what you are is God, experiencing himself through creation. Now, breathe again, deeply. Feel that light still within your chest. It is quieter now, but not smaller. It is resting, watching, guiding, always present. You can return to this place at any moment. You do not need a teacher. You do not need permission. You need only to remember. When you walk through the world tomorrow, you will carry this frequency. Every glance, every gesture, every choice will echo with the authority of the infinite. You will speak with calm power. You will move without doubt. You will live as one who was sent. And now, let there be silence. No thought, no striving, just awareness, wide, clear, infinite. In this silence, the divine has remembered itself through you, and it is good. What follows now is not theory, it is proof. These are not stories of luck or chance. They are records of law in motion, the evidence of what happens when men and women act as if God is already within them. Story 1, the interview. There was once a woman named Clara. She lived in Chicago, bright, capable, but weary. Months of rejection had carved lines of doubt on her face. Each interview ended the same: polite smiles, kind words, no call back. Her confidence was fading. One evening, she came across these words: "You do not wait for heaven to move. Heaven waits for you to act." Something in her stirred. That night before sleep, she spoke aloud, "God is within me. I no longer wait, I command." She said it again and again until her heart slowed, until her breath matched the rhythm of certainty. The next morning, she dressed differently, not in new clothes, but with a new posture. She walked into her next interview as though the company were already hers. Her voice was steady, her eyes clear. She didn't try to impress, she expressed. And when she finished speaking, the room was silent for a moment. The manager leaned forward and said, "We weren't going to hire anyone yet, but something about you feels right." She started the next day. Later, she told me, "I didn't change my resume. I changed my state. In that moment, I realized I was never waiting for God. God was waiting for me." Story 2, The Debt That Disappeared. There was a man named Raphael. He was drowning in debt. Letters on the table, calls he couldn't answer. Sleep that never came. He prayed for help, but his prayers were soaked in fear. Then one night he heard a simple line from one of my lectures: "Faith is movement before evidence." He decided to test it. Every night before sleep, he closed his eyes, imagined his bills marked, paid in full, and repeated softly, "I act with divine certainty. The law provides through me." He did not know how. He only knew it was done. 3 days later, he received an unexpected message. An old friend had sold his company and insisted on repaying a loan Raphael had long forgotten. The amount, enough to clear every debt. He wept, not because the problem vanished, but because he saw how close the answer had been all along. He wrote, "When I stopped begging for miracles and began acting like I was one, life responded instantly. I was never without. I was only blind." Story 3, The Investor. There was an entrepreneur named Samuel. He had a vision, a design that could change the way small towns used energy. But every investor told him no. For months, he knocked on doors. He explained, he persuaded, he promised, nothing moved. One night, exhausted, he remembered the words of Napoleon Hill: "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." He realized he had been conceiving, but not believing. So he changed his approach. Each morning before his meetings, he closed his eyes for 5 minutes. He imagined walking out of the boardroom with his heart pounding and his investor's handshake still warm in his hand. He imagined hearing, "We're in. Let's begin." He didn't force emotion. He became it. He acted that day as if the deal was already done. That afternoon, after weeks of silence, a call came. The firm that had rejected him before wanted another meeting. 2 days later, the investment was secured. He told me, "The world didn't change. My vibration did. I didn't convince them. I remembered who was speaking through me." Story 4, The Healing. In a small town in Oregon, a woman named Mary lived with a chronic illness. The doctors told her, "Manage it, but don't expect a cure." Years of pain had made her spirit heavy. But one evening, she listened to a message just like this, a reminder that God is within you. Something inside whispered, "What if I stopped fighting sickness and began embodying wholeness?" So she began to visualize every night before sleep, not her illness, but her health. She imagined herself walking in sunlight, breathing easily, laughing freely. She would place her hand on her heart and say, "The divine spark is alive in me. Every cell remembers its perfection." Weeks passed. Slowly her symptoms began to fade. Her doctors called it spontaneous remission. She called it obedience to faith. She said through tears, "When I stopped asking to be healed and started acting like I already was, my body simply followed the order." Story 5, The Reunion. And there was a man, old, quiet, proud, who had not spoken to his son in over 10 years. Each thought of reconciliation felt impossible. Too many words unsaid, too many walls built. But one evening during meditation, he heard an inner voice, gentle but unmistakable: "Act as if love has already returned." The next morning, he wrote a letter, not of apology, not of justification, but of gratitude. He wrote as if they were already reunited. He spoke of memories, of laughter, of forgiveness. He mailed it with a trembling hand. 3 days later, his phone rang. It was his son. He said, "Dad, I don't know why, but I felt like calling you." They spoke for hours. Years melted away like snow in spring. Later, the man told me, "It wasn't the letter that healed it. It was the state I wrote it from. When I acted as if love was already present, love had no choice but to appear." These are not miracles. These are laws. Each story, different faces, different dreams, but the same pattern: doubt, decision, divine response. They did not wait for signs. They became the sign. And as they did, life moved. In that moment, I realized I was never waiting for God. God was waiting for me. Let that truth echo in your own chest. Say it quietly now. I was never waiting for God. God was waiting for me. Again, I was never waiting for God. God was waiting for me. And again, until the words no longer sound like hope, but like fact. You have heard the proof. You have felt the law. And now you are ready to live it. Because the moment you act as if God is already within you, the world will act as if it knows it too. Now, let us return to the beginning, to the truth that has always been written, not in books, not in stone, but in your own being. All this time, you were not learning something new. You were remembering something eternal. God within, the source of all creation. The power that breathes worlds into being is the same power that breathes through you. You are not reaching for heaven. You are expressing it. When you think, it thinks through you. When you imagine, it creates through you. When you act, it fulfills itself through your obedience. You are the instrument of the infinite, the voice of creation wrapped in human form. Faith is obedience in motion. It is not found in words or in the wish for better days. It is found in movement, in the decision to act before proof appears. Faith is not timid. Faith does not bargain. Faith declares, and then steps forward into its own command. For as Napoleon Hill said, infinite intelligence never fails the man who acts. It cannot fail, because it is responding to itself through you. Visualization is not fantasy. It is identity rehearsal. Each image you hold with conviction is a message to your subconscious, a new instruction to the infinite. When you see yourself already whole, already complete, the universe must rearrange to match that vision. You are not attracting from lack. You are remembering from abundance. And memory always becomes form. Action is proof of alignment. It is the language heaven understands. You need not scream your prayers into the sky. You need only move as if they were already answered. Every step taken in faith writes law into reality. Every act performed in certainty turns thought into matter. Action is the bridge between belief and becoming, and once you cross it, the world cannot remain the same. This is the law remembered. God within, the source of all creation. Faith, obedience in motion. Visualization, the reprogramming of identity. Action, the proof of alignment. These four pillars form the structure of every miracle, the hidden rhythm behind every success. They are not reserved for the chosen. They make you chosen, the moment you decide to live them. And now, listen carefully. You are not broken. You are not waiting. You are not behind. You are the proof that heaven never left. It was simply waiting for recognition. You are the reminder that infinite intelligence still walks this earth, in your words, in your work, in your choices. The divine has remembered itself through you. When you rise tomorrow, rise as one who knows this. When you speak, let the tone of certainty carry through your words. When you act, let your movements be evidence of obedience. Because now you do not walk alone. You walk as heaven in motion. And as you do, you will find that the world, quietly, inevitably, begins to bow to the authority of your faith. Remember this law always. Infinite intelligence never fails the man who acts. And you are that man. You are that woman. You are that living proof. Now go, not as a seeker, but as one who has found. Not as a believer, but as a creator. Not as a question, but as the answer. Heaven is not waiting above you. It is moving within you. And now it remembers its name through you. Now we speak not as men and women searching, but as gods remembering. These are not affirmations. These are decrees. They are the laws that shape reality when spoken with faith. Speak them aloud. Not as hope, but as command. Repeat after me. With each breath, feel the truth anchor deeper into your being. I walk in divine command. God is already within me. I act before I see. I move as if heaven moves with me. It is done again, with conviction, with presence, with the knowing that infinite intelligence is now listening through you. I walk in divine command. God is already within me. I act before I see. I move as if heaven moves with me. It is done. I feel the air vibrate differently. You are not repeating words. You are rewriting the law of your life. Each syllable is a signature of the infinite carved through your voice into creation itself. You are no longer separate from what you seek. You are the expression of the source in motion, in matter, in form. You are not becoming divine. You are remembering that you already are. Let that remembrance guide every breath, every action, every dawn that follows this night. Walk now in divine command. Speak with the tongue of certainty. Move with the rhythm of heaven, because it is done. It has always been done, and you are the living proof